Time for number 78, my Best Picture Marathon. Best Picture Marathon theme song. Over a decade before the success of his screenplay for Million Dollar Baby, writer Paul Haggis was carjacked on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. The incident gave him the idea for the movie Crash, which Haggis directed and co-wrote with Robert Moresco. The film got a wide U.S. release from Lionsgate Films in 2005. Since the film had a relatively low budget, many of the people involved took huge pay cuts, and Haggis himself took out multiple mortgages on his house to finance the film. And it paid off because the film actually was a huge box office success, and of course went on to win Best Picture. Crash is a big sprawling ensemble drama about a whole bunch of characters whose lives are intersecting in Los Angeles just before Christmas. Through these characters, the film examines racism and prejudice in a variety of different situations. The huge ensemble cast includes Don Cheadle, who was also a producer on the film, Matt Dillon, Sandra Bullock, Brendan Fraser, Terrence Howard, Ludacris, Thandiwe Newton, Michael Pena, Ryan Phillippe, Lorenz Tate, Jennifer Esposito, Sean Taub, plus brief appearances by Keith David and Tony Danza. The film was a big success upon release, with some critics hailing it as a masterpiece that shines a powerful light on racism and prejudice, while other critics found it shallow and suggested it barely scratched the surface when it came to systemic racism in America. When I first saw Crash in the theater, I was definitely in the former camp. I thought this movie was a transcendent masterpiece that blew my mind. On subsequent viewings, my opinion has shifted. Crash is another one of those odd Oscar winners that was beloved when it came out, but over the years seems to have garnered more and more genuine hatred from audiences. The last time I watched Crash was probably about 12 or 15 years ago, and I certainly did not enjoy it as much as I had originally. But I also felt like hating it was kind of an extreme reaction. Nevertheless, I dreaded rewatching it again for this marathon. It's hard to even want to talk about this movie because people have such intense feelings about it. After sitting through it again, I felt like it was fine. I really appreciate what Crash is trying to do, and I think it's admirable that it's tackling difficult topics like race and prejudice, but the fact that it's a big ensemble cast with a multi-plot story does mean that we're basically getting a bunch of short films sort of edited together, and the extent to which the characters are developed is largely reflective of that. The narrative contains a lot of contrived coincidences, and there's absolutely no subtlety when it comes to this movie's themes. Paul Haggis himself said that his intention wasn't just to call out racists, but also to quote-unquote bust liberals who believed that America was suddenly in some post-racial society. And I do feel like a lot of the characters here are being used in a very didactic way to simply explain the ideas rather than to show us the ideas. That being said, there are some outstanding performances, and some of the individual scenes are pretty powerful on their own merits. I think the movie's heart is in the right place, but to me it often comes off as manipulative. Crash's Best Picture win was considered quite the upset. Brokeback Mountain was considered the heavy favorite to win that year. The other nominees for 2005 included Capote, Steven Spielberg's Munich, and George Clooney's Good Night and Good Luck, which has always been my personal favorite movie of 2005. It's disconcerting how relevant it still is. Over the years, Crash has become one of the most polarizing Best Picture winners, with some reviewers even suggesting that it's one of the worst movies ever made. I guess they've never seen Manos the Hands of Fate or In Gramps' Shoes. Anyway, I don't hate Crash, but I never thought it should have won Best Picture. Alright, that's enough about Crash. We got 20 more Best Picture winners to get through. Next up, Martin Scorsese's The Departed. I'll see you then.